Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Baking 201. I'm Miss Mercy, as you know, and we are going to get rocking and rolling. Tonight we are making white chocolate macadamia nut cookies, and I'm so excited for this. This is one of my favorite cookies, if not my #1 favorite, so I wanted to share this with you all as well. So let's get started. I hope you've got your mise en place in place. Go ahead and turn your oven on to 350 and get your sink started. Started. My printer wanted to be on the fritz today, so I don't have the recipe cards in front of me, so I just jotted down some notes. So I'll be paraphrasing along the way, but you should have that in front of you, and feel free to put some comments in the chat if I miss something, okay? So we're gonna first start toasting our macadamia nuts. So I have my mise en place ready for everything. This is my mise en place here, ready for my cookies. So I'm gonna go ahead and just move this out the way a little bit so we can see our mise en place for our nuts. Actually, I'll do it like that. Hi T Turner, thanks for joining. All right. Okay, so here's our mise en place here for our nuts. This one is really simple. All you needed is 1 cup of raw macadamia nuts, your baking sheet with parchment paper, and a wooden or metal spoon, okay? I'm gonna wait for the oven to be ready on the preheat, and then we'll get our nuts in. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and line your baking sheet with parchment paper. I'm going to do that really quick. And the reason why we do this is because sometimes when you roast nuts, they'll stick. Or if you're going to candy nuts, those will definitely stick to the sheet. And you also don't want to burn the sheet either. So put your parchment paper on there. Okay, I've got mine. Move this over. Okay, and so 1 cup of raw macadamia nuts, and you're just going to spread that on there in a thin layer. That way they will toast nice and evenly. Hi Brandy, welcome. Okay, so I've got my 1 cup of macadamia nuts on my sheet, just waiting for my oven to signify that it's ready and hot. If you want to do a little bit more than the 1 cup, you can. Our recipe calls for 3/4 cups, so we are already doing a little bit more than what we need. But if you wanted to toast more for later, you can do that. But you already saw the note on there. Whatever nuts that you have that you've already toasted, you want to go ahead and use that within a short amount of time, as opposed to the raw nuts, which would last a little bit longer. So when you toast your nuts, you want to use them, within the week, within a few days. When your nuts are raw, they can go up to a few months, stored airtight. All right, so we'll just wait for our oven here, and we'll get to rocking and rolling on that. Should you not have your mise en place ready for your cookies, go ahead and get that ready. Like I said, I have mine here now. And maybe I can do at least 1 piece of terminology. Let's see. How long does it take the oven to heat up? A couple minutes. See if I can throw out a terminology for you guys. All right, so tonight we're doing cookies. Okay, so we will go over beating and creaming. So beating is the process of vigorously mixing ingredients to incorporate air and make the mixture smooth, often done with an electric mixer or by hand with a whisk. So tonight we will be doing the beating process in making our cookie dough. And then also creaming. Creaming is the process of beating fat, which is butter, and sugar together until light and fluffy, helping to incorporate air for a light texture in cakes and cookies. And again, we will be beating or creaming our butter and sugar tonight, so we'll be doing the creaming process as well. Did I turn the oven on? Okay, it's only at 210, so it's got a little more time. Let's see, what else can we go on for tonight? Folding. We will be folding as well, so we'll go over folding. Hi, Sophia. Folding, a gentle mixing technique to combine ingredients, often whipped cream or beaten egg whites without deflating them, done by using a spatula to lift and turn the mixture. So tonight we will definitely be folding our nuts and our chips into our dough. So we've got 3 on here from our basic baking terminology that we will be using. Also, I'll just go ahead and go over batter since that's up there. Batter is a mixture of ingredients, typically thinner than dough, that can be poured or scooped. Example, cake batter or pancake batter. And we'll be doing that next week when we make our lemon poppy seed cake. And just, oh, here we go, lost my highlighter. So at your leisure, go over on your basic baking terminology. I covered batter, I covered beating, creaming, and folding. Those are the first points on your terminology sheet. And then last time we went over mise en place. You can also cover leavening. Looks like I have a little bit more time. Purple hearts in the chat if your oven is ready. Leavening, the process of making dough rise, usually with the help of yeast, baking soda, or baking powder. This creates air pockets that make baked goods light and fluffy. So we are using baking soda tonight in our bake, and the baking soda is going to add to that, creating the air pockets, which are going to help make the cookies soft. We're also using a dark brown sugar, and the molasses in the sugar is also another element that's going to allow our cookies to be very soft and chewy. Okay, I don't see any purple hearts yet, so I'm assuming that you all are still waiting for your ovens to warm as well. So I'll just keep going on terminology. Mine's at 290, so we're almost there. Do your sink water if you missed that point coming in a little bit late. Okay, next up, sifting. Sifting is the act of passing dry ingredients like flour, powdered sugar, or cocoa powder through a fine mesh sieve to remove lumps and combine them evenly. So 90%, 100% of the time we use sifting when we're incorporating our dry ingredients in our bakes. Tonight we're actually going to be doing whisking with the whisk, but if you opted to, sift your ingredients together, that's fine as well. The sifting is a more thorough way to make sure that your dry ingredients are going to incorporate together. Whisking is a lot faster, it's more manual, I guess you would say, but that whisking technique works as well, so either or. All right, stiff peaks. We learned about stiff peaks last week. When whipped cream, egg whites, or meringue hold a firm, upright shape that does not droop, this is achieved by beating to a certain consistency. So last week when we were making our mousse, we were beating our egg whites, we beat them soft, and then we beat them stiff. Okay, so stiff is when you get to that level to where you can look in your bowl or you can lift your beater and the dome on the egg is not going to drop. Okay, that's when they're super stiff. Then there are soft peaks. Soft peaks is a stage in beating egg whites or cream where the peaks hold their shape but gently fold over at the tips when the whisk is lifted. Okay, and you saw that last week as well. Hi, Kina. So when you're beating your egg whites or your cream to soft peaks, you can see the peaks in there, but if you stop and watch it, they're just gonna fold and fall back into themselves. There's the oven. Purple hearts in the chat if your oven is ready. Mine is ready, so yours should be as well. Okay, grab your daily heart me's if you haven't already. Make sure you like the live. If you're a fly on the wall tonight, double tap. Make sure you like the live. Hi, Samaria. Good to see you. All right, we are ready. So oven's ready. Go ahead and pop your macadamia nuts into the oven, and then you're gonna set your timer for 10 minutes. My oven mitts over there, setting my timer to 10 minutes. Okay. And then we remember that on your directive in a recipe. So if it says 10 to 12 minutes, 12 to 14, 16 to 18, 18 to 20, anything of that nature, you always want to start on the low end. That way, if you need to cook it a little bit longer, you can. Remember, it's like math. In baking, you can add, but you cannot subtract. So if you start with a higher number and you end up burning it, then you've got to dump that out and start all over. So you always start on the lower end when it comes to the timing, and then you can always increase in a couple of minute increments from there. So that's why we're doing that way. So while we've got 9 minutes at this point, we are going to start working on our cookie dough. So again, I don't have my recipe card in front of me, so bear with me. I jotted some little janky notes. Look, you guys can see my doctor's handwriting right here. So we're gonna still make it happen. All right, so for our white chocolate macadamia nut cookies, on your mise en place, and I'll just bring this down for you all to see. And again, in your world, this should be ready, okay? But I'm just gonna show you for visual sake. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cups of soft butter, 3/4 cups of packed dark brown sugar, okay? You can see how there are little domes in my sugar. Make sure that you pack the sugar. Thank you, Takia. Make sure that you packed it, okay? When you just scoop a sugar and don't pack, that means that there's still some air in there and you're not gonna get a condensed amount of whatever the recipe is calling for. So in this case, it said pack. So I'm hoping that on your mise en place, you have some little domes like this. If you don't, you can quickly redo it because we want to make sure that we have 3/4 cups packed with dark brown sugar, okay? We're also using dark brown sugar as opposed to light brown sugar because it has more molasses, and we want these cookies to be nice and sweet and chewy. Okay, next up we have 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Then we have 1 large egg. Then we have 1 large egg white. Just kidding, it should be a yolk. Just kidding. one large egg yolk. I messed that up. That means I have to retake a picture of this mise en place. Okay, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. And remember, I like to cook with kosher salt. It is larger grains, it's more coarse, but it's gonna give that burst of flavor. It's gonna brighten up the flavor in our bakes. So make sure you're using kosher salt, okay? Thank you, Takia, and thank you, Sophia. Next up, 1 cup of white chocolate chips. We've got that there. And then 3/4 cups of macadamia nuts, and our nuts are in the oven, okay? So we've got that. So first up, just move my little notes here. Preheating our oven and lining our baking sheets. So our oven is gonna be already preheated at this point. So go ahead and line, I think I put 2 to 3 or 4. I think I put 4 sheets on there. So go ahead and line your sheets with parchment paper. And I have 1 available right now, but that's okay. If you've got your sheets lined already, then go ahead and take a sip of your tea. Got my tea over here. All right, so I'm starting with 1 and I'll build from there. So I've got 1. Okay, next, in a large bowl, we are going to cream the butter and sugars together until light and fluffy. So our butter we have here, 3/4 cups. And I see a little something in my bowl. Okay, so go ahead and put your butters in there, and go ahead and put your dark brown sugar and your granulated sugar. Okay. And again, you want to make sure that that dark brown sugar is packed. Can we see that? Sometimes with these comments, I can't really see. All right, so, ooh, I smell my macadamia nuts. You guys smell your nuts yet? So I'm just going to use this little bitty spoon here. So I've got my butter and sugar in here, and now I'm just gonna break up that brown sugar that's packed tightly in there a little bit before I put it on here. And I put on your recipe card to have your paddle attachment if you have a stand mixer, but if you have the beater attachment, that's okay as well. It'll still get the job done. Remember, start slow and low and build your way up. This step right here, you're looking for the creaming method to give you a light and fluffy mix, and it takes about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. I've got 2 minutes on my timer, so about time that this is done, then I should be ready to bring my nuts out. They kind of smell like they might be ready. Nice and golden. About 1 more minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my macadamia nuts out. Go ahead and check your oven as well. You don't want to burn them. You want them just to be nice and golden. So according to my oven, I've only got about 40 seconds left, not 1 minute and 40 seconds. So make sure that you check yours as well. Scrape down the sides if you need to. And that's one thing, you know, when you start baking so long, just like the smell of stuff, you'll, already know when it's ready. You'll know it before the timer, and I can smell it, so I'm gonna go ahead and take my nuts out. Yep. Okay, so my macadamia nuts are out. Look at that, beautiful, nice and golden. They smell amazing. And I'm going to go ahead and let this cool for 5 minutes because we're going to need this in a few minutes for our batter. And I forgot to take out the cooling pad. All right, back to creaming. Okay, so remember, start slow and low before you build up on creaming. Looking for the butter and sugar to incorporate together and be nice and fluffy and creamy. Remember, if you have any questions along the way, just put them in the chat. I'll answer your questions. If you're a fly on the wall, make sure you're liking the live. That looks nice and cream. So it's nice and fluffy, and then you guys can see that on my beater attachment. That's nice and fluffy. That's what we're looking for. Turn that off. So now we're going to move on to the next step, and that is adding in the egg yolk, and the vanilla, and then you're going to beat it all together, and again, scrape down the sides if you need to. So I'm going to add in my 1 egg. Can I use sea salt? Yes. Just my 1 1 egg. There's my 1 egg yolk. A lot of times in the recipe, you'll see it'll call for an egg plus a yolk, and that is because that extra egg yolk is going to again add to the consistency of your bake. I'm almost forgetting my vanilla here. Okay, so egg yolk, and vanilla, and then go ahead and beat that. And while my cream mixture is going, I'm just gonna stir my macadamia nuts a little bit, and you do the same. It's over. Okay. And these cool down really quickly, so I'm just taking my spoon and just stirring them up like that. That little corner there is a little overdone for me, so I'm not going to use that. But the rest of these guys, just stirring them up, and it smells yummy. Okay. Hi, Samaria. Yes, I'm glad you're here as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the sides. Again, pay attention to that if you need to, because I've got some sugar sticking to the sides here. So I'm going to scrape that down to make sure that everything gets incorporated. And that also will happen less often if you have your paddle attachment. All right, so then next up, in the medium bowl, so in a separate bowl, you're going to whisk your flour, baking soda, and kosher salt. Okay, so let's do that next. Okay, so I've got my flour, and again, if you want to sift on this part, you can. Let me grab my sift. You can sift or you can whisk. So I'm getting my flour in here. Okay, then I'm getting my baking soda. You see that? Getting my baking soda. Putting my kosher salt, and then I'm going to move on back to my wet mixture. The key is to not overmix here, so I'm going to turn that off. See how we're multitasking right now? Okay, that looks really good. It's nice and fluffy and all incorporated. So now I can switch back to my dry. So just gonna go ahead and sift that. The salt, excuse me, the salt and the baking soda will incorporate well. And again, when you use kosher salt, don't panic if you see that happen. Go ahead and dump that in there, because again, kosher salt, the grains are larger, and that's why that happens. But then you can go in with your whisk and give it another go. All right, next step. So now we are gonna gradually add our dry mixture to our wet mixture. And again, scrape down the sides if you need to. This is the part where to get a little cray for me. So I want to use I'm going to use a little cup to scoop this out and put it in here so that I don't make a mess. And I'm going to do about half of it first. So remember, not all of it. We're gradually putting it in there. So I'm putting a little less than half. Okay. How's everyone doing out there? Okay, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest. Getting the rest in here. That's a big tea. Yes, I love tea. That's pretty much all I drink is tea and water. Love tea, love me some tea. Okay. Oh, see, slow and low. You see that powder club coming? Powder cloud. So I can tell I've got some flour on the side, so I'm just going to scrape my sides down so that everything gets nice and incorporated. And oh, this smells so good. Butter and sugar just has this heavenly smell. See how my batter is already nice and firm. So yours should be as well. And remember not to overmix. As soon as you see that it's all incorporated, you're good. Okay. So once you get your batter all mixed together, go ahead and clean off the beater, and then you're ready to move on to your nuts and your chips. It's really important not, oh, 30K, thank y'all. Keep going, keep going. It's really important not to overmix your batter or your dough, because it's going to make your bake more dense. It's going to make it tough, and that's not what we want. We want our cookies to be light and fluffy along with soft and chewy, okay? And so it's important to not overmix in order to allow that to happen. Okay. And then I'm just gonna taste this because I'm just crazy like that. As you guys learned from last week. So good. Okay. So now we're gonna fold in our white chocolate chips and our nuts. And you're gonna fold with your silicone spatula, because remember, these have a give in them. They're really soft and they won't break the air that you've already incorporated into your bake. So I'm gonna take my white chocolate chips, and then here's a little side note for your nuts. You wanna have them chopped. Now I purchased chopped nuts, but they don't really look that chopped to me. So I'm just gonna try to chop them up really quick. If your nuts are good, can I use this mallet? If your nuts are good, then go ahead and put your macadamia nuts into, make sure it's 3/4 of a cup. Go ahead and put into your batter, fold it, cover it with plastic, and put it in the fridge. If you're like me and you need to break them up a little bit, let's go ahead and do that right now. I just feel like I want them to be a little bit smaller than what they're presenting right now, because you're also thinking about, you know, when you bite into the cookie or when someone bites into the cookie, you don't want this big nut like this. And I have some raw nuts here, so I can show you all before and an after on how golden brown my nuts are. Like I said, I'm just discarding of some of the ones that I feel like are just a little bit overdone. And the reason why you toast your nuts is because you want to you want to enhance the flavor, okay? So you all right now are learning how to layer flavors. So a raw nut is going to be really, I kind of want to say gamey, that maybe that's not the right word. It's going to be like bright. So you can use a raw nut, but especially for cookies, you want to toast your nut so that way it gives it more of a deep flavor, a more earthy flavor, okay? So whatever your preference is, but trust me, for a gourmet cookie like this, you definitely want to have your nuts toasted. So I'm showing you here the difference. This is a raw macadamia nut in rare form. This is a toasted macadamia nut, and you see it's just golden brown. I didn't take it, too far. We just did about 10 minutes. Well, I guess this was 9 tonight. So you don't want them to be too golden, too dark. Okay, just a nice little roast or toast, and that will definitely change the flavor profile. If you do have raw and toasted now at this point, just give it a try. A raw macadamia nut is amazing. But then when you taste it toasted, there's a big difference. And you'll see that. All right. So now I'm gonna get these in here, fold and pop in the fridge. And if you've done that step already, go ahead and start washing your dishes. And I need to make sure I'm putting 3/4 cups in here. And I think I'll put it here. Got some sugar on here. And it's smelling amazing in here. I don't know about you all. We're not even getting our dough in here yet. So I'm using 1/4 cup 3 times, and that's giving me 3/4 cups. And since we toasted 1 cup, you see we've still got a little bit to play with. I just put those in there and I did not chop them. Tragic. All right, well, here we are, folks. We're live. So I would have preferred them to be toasted, but I guess that's happened because I'm talking. That's okay. The whole point of me doing that was to chop them up. That's all right. It'll still be good. So go ahead and just do a nice fold like that, okay? You don't want to mix it. You just want to do a nice fold. Okay, and whenever you're incorporating your nuts, your chips, your sprinkles, you always want to do that in the end step with your silicone spatula on a fold, again, so you're not disrupting the batter. You don't want to do this with the mixer itself. Okay, and that looks really good. Nice and full, a nice fold to get it all incorporated. Set your timer for 30 minutes, or maybe you should have 25 minutes at this point if you're ahead of me. Purple hearts in the chat if you already have your cookie dough in the refrigerator. And I can see, I like mine's really nutty, so I can see. I'm just gonna add all this to it. Don't see any purple hearts yet. All right. Okay, so we're just folding this in. Sophia's baking tomorrow. Okay, so tap, tap, tap. Get our likes up. Mr. Caprice got your purple hearts. Okay, awesome. So your batter's in the fridge, covered it in plastic wrap. We just want it to chill for 30 minutes so that it'll solidify before we scoop them. Okay, because our batter right now is nice and soft and pliable. So you can go ahead and start doing some cleaning while you wait. Cover yours with plastic. just gonna set my timer for 15 minutes. 18. So I was doing a lot of talking, so about 30 minutes is how long we wanted to set, just so that it can solidify some. Again, you can clean up at this phase. If you have any questions at this phase, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll answer questions. And so right now we're just waiting for our dough to chill, and then we're gonna bring it out and do some scooping. I'm going to do another sheet so that I can have more than one sheet going into the oven. Hi, Workita's Creative Expressions. Welcome to class. And this one, I'm like, how did this paper get so big? But I was gonna use this with the mallet. Ayana, you made it. Thank you for liking the live. Make sure you share it out. Grab your daily heart knees if you haven't already. And tap that screen. Did anyone see their homework posted? So remember this semester I said I would share homework with you guys so you guys can see what everyone is doing. Last semester we didn't do that. So I wanted to make sure I got that done this time around. Round of applause. Oh, thank you for grabbing your daily heart knees. Round of applause, A+ for all of you who have completed your chocolate mousse. They all looked amazing. I literally was like crying a little bit on the inside because I'm just like so proud of you that I'm just like, this gives me joy. Like, I love what I do. This gives me joy. Crystal, you saw yours? So dope, right? Like, you guys did an amazing job. And, you know, as I responded to your homework emails, presentation is everything, okay? So at this phase, remember that in everything that you do, even if you're roasting broccoli, okay? Put it in a pretty bowl. We eat with our eyes first, so it's really important that you take the presentation step just as serious as you take your, you know, bake step. And it'll go a long way. And we've got, what do we have? 4th of July coming up. We've got some cool things that we're gonna do before that. And so I'm excited to see those bakes that you guys do for then. We've got Father's Day coming up. So next week, you know, you'll learn even more, and I'm just excited. I'm just really excited just to see your growth, your development, and how you all are putting your takes on the bakes that we do every week. I've got 2 lined in there. I've got 14 minutes on my timer. 46,000. Woo woo! So I'm gonna go ahead and line another sheet. So this recipe is yielding like 18 to 24 cookies. So that's, you know, 1.5 to 2 dozen. You should be able to get 6 cookies on a tray. So 3 to 4 cookie sheets is what you'll need for tonight. If you wanna just bake a few, you can do that, but I'd rather you just go ahead and bake your whole dough so that I can see that on your presentation. I've got 3 trays lined now. Gonna do my last one. How are we doing out there? 4 trays. My 4 trays ready. I will get my scooper. Got my handy dandy scooper here. So I put on your recipe card to use a 1-inch scooper. Remember, if you don't have the scooper, you can just use a tablespoon. That 1-inch scooper is going to be 2 tablespoons, I believe. So you can use just a regular 2 tablespoons. If you don't have a scooper like this, just use a tablespoon for that. So we've got that ready. Okay, I'm going to need my spatula, so I'm going to go ahead and wash that. So you're going to need your silicone spatula, and you're going to need your scooper utensils for scooping out your cookie dough. Another little trick that I like to do is once you roll out your cookies, this part is going to affect the aesthetic. So you've already got your chocolate chips and you've already got your nuts inside your batter. You can leave it like that and see how your cookies look once you bake it and see if you like that aesthetic. If you prefer a cookie that you can really visually see the nuts inside, you can really visually see the chips inside with your extra chips and nuts that you have on the side after you scoop it, you can add a few to the top. Oh, 50K. And that will give it more of like a gourmet look. So just think about that before you start scooping your cookies. Okay. I don't see any questions. 50K. Woo woo. 51. We'll make it. We'll make it to the 100. That's always the goal, right? Making it to 100K before class is over. I think we're gonna make it tonight. What do you guys think? I think we're gonna make it. In the chat if your cookie dough is in the refrigerator. Let me see. I've got 9 more minutes on my timer. Hope so. Hope so what? That for me? Hope so? What do you hope so? Oh yes. Okay. Maria's dough is in, Danielle's dough is in, Crystal's dough is in, Mr. Capri's in 13 minutes. Okay, awesome. Rock stars. Look at us in 201. Rocking and rolling. Are you guys cleaning up? Ladies and gentlemen? So we're cleaning as we go. I always, as you notice, I don't clean. I wait until the end just so, you know, I don't look like this. I don't have my back to you. Washing dishes, okay, good. You got some free hands, tap that screen. I, you know, just don't want to have my back to you. So I don't usually like clean at the end, but on this phase, we've got a lot of time here. And I'm in Cali. It's raining right now. Can you believe it? Jaquel, can you believe it? Is Jaquel still in here? It's raining, Jaquel. What did you do to the West Coast? You're getting some rain. I need a little tiny container to put my running a, oh, Jolie! Hey, Jolie! Yay, not, not us this time. I know, right? I feel like every time we talk, it's raining for you guys. And we're over here finding the sun. It was just like 80 something yesterday. We had a few days, 90, 100 before that. And now we're getting some rain. So go figure. Maybe I'll sit out on the balcony with a glass of wine tonight. Jolly, you're running a little bit behind. That's okay. Are you, so I guess you're still making your batter at this point. Gotta get Minnie ready for bed. Hopefully catch you later. All right. Thank you so much for joining. Getting ready in bed. When it rains, oh, thank you for the heart nation. When it rains, it's like movie, wine, just chillaxing. Dropping in to show some love. Thank you, Shan. Oh! Thank you for the big shout out. Woo woo! Danielle leveled up. Boom shakalaka. Alright, cleaning up my mixer. Oh, let me unplug it. Don't forget to unplug your mixers before you clean them. Okay, I've got 5 minutes on my timer. Let me do some more terminology with you all. Jolly can catch up to us a little bit. Oh, I wanted to ask Danielle. I think it was Danielle. I had a question for you. Let me see. Let me think for a second. My brain like works so weird when I'm on live in class. I feel like I wanted to email you something. Let me think about it. I feel like I wanted to ask Danielle something. I have a habit of running water. Can you tell? Okay. Let's go over a little terminology while we wait. Oh, I remember. Okay. Danielle, Purple Hearts in the chat if you gave me the comment about being in the replay club. Was that Danielle? I think it was. Purple Hearts in the chat, Danielle, if that was you, and then I remember my question. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, tempering. Tempering is gradually raising the temperature of an ingredient, usually egg yolks or chocolate, by slowly adding a hot liquid or ingredient to prevent curdling or seizing. You got that? So you've got some chocolate, you add a little bit, or egg yolks, add a little bit of liquid to it so that it doesn't curdle. Was that Danielle? No? Going once, going twice? Okay, whisking. The action of mixing ingredients quickly, usually with a wire whisk, to incorporate air or blend ingredients smoothly. Example, whisking eggs, cream, or dry ingredients. So we've got that. Okay, wasn't Danielle. Who was on the replay crew? Who emailed me that they were on the replay crew? Brandy? Was it Brandy? That was Danielle. Brandy, Purple Hearts in the chat as if that was you on the replay crew this week. Okay, zesting. We'll be doing zesting next week. Zesting, grating or scraping the outer color rind of citrus fruits like lemons or oranges to use in recipes for added flavor. okay? So you just get your lemon, you get your orange, you get your lime, and get it on these grates here. Oh, Crystal, okay. Look, I'm just going down the list. Okay, Crystal, you were on the replay crew, thank you. So my question to you was, how was your experience taking the class on the YouTube live or the YouTube replay as opposed to being on TikTok live? You can share with me and with everyone else how that experience was. I forgot to ask you that in your email. All right, chilling to chill. Cooling dough, batter, or ingredients in the refrigerator to help with texture, consistency, or to set certain elements like cookie dough or pie crust. Guess what? That's what we're doing tonight. We are chilling. We are setting our dough in the fridge to chill. Absolutely. And look at that perfect timing for Jolly. So go ahead and set your timer for 20 minutes, Jolly. I have 30 on your recipe card, but this is only a little bit of dough, so you should be able to do 20 minutes and that's perfectly fine. And what you can do at the 20-minute mark, when you bring your dough out, you can just scoop about half of it and do your cookies and see how they come out. And if they spread too far, then let the dough chill a little bit longer and then bring it out and make the rest. If they're perfect, then you can just go ahead and finish, if that makes sense. Okay, got a couple minutes left on my timer. All right, whipping. To beat ingredients like cream or egg whites. To beat ingredients like cream or egg whites vigorously to incorporate air and increase volume, resulting in a light, fluffy texture. So whipping, remember we did that last week with our mousse. I think I'm getting a puzzle right now. I failed. All right, I passed that one. All right. Yeah, so we did whipping last night, right? Incorporating all the air, and that helped us with our stable mousse. I don't have an ice cream scoop. Can I use a measuring cup to scoop my dough? I would prefer if you use a tablespoon. If you have like a metal tablespoon, that's going to be a lot easier than using the measuring cup. It was good. I miss being live, but I like being able to rewind if I thought I missed something. Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you for the feedback on that. Yeah, Samaria, use a metal spoon like this. Okay. Or do you have, is your measuring cup, is it metal? Because with the cookie dough, you want to use like a metal component. That way it doesn't stick. Why is there two like that? Did you guys hear that? That sounds weird. All right. Yeah, just use a tablespoon, and you can just do like a heaping tablespoon if you don't have the scooper. All right, so timer went off. Let me just check our dough. Ladies and gentlemen, check your dough, and we're just looking for it to be a little more firm than it was when we put it inside, okay? It's not gonna, look different in color, anything like that. You're just looking for firmness. So I'm gonna use a tasting spoon, the back of a tasting spoon, and go like that. And it has a little bit of resistance, so I know I'm good to go. And look, my spoon's even sticking there. This is why you wanna use metal, okay? If it doesn't have so much of a resistance, you can go ahead and put it in a little bit longer, but this has got some, so we're good to go. Okay, now we are ready to scoop. If you're not ready to scoop, just go ahead and pop your dough back in the fridge and continue to clean up. If you're ready to scoop, you'll be right along with me. And my intrusive thoughts, I just have to eat this, sorry. I know you guys are like, she's crazy. Okay, that is so good. Lord have mercy. All right, so now we are going to scoop our cookie dough. And I don't know if you guys saw that. So I'm scooping, and then I'm pulling it against the side of the bowl so that it's flat. You see that? So it's not really heaping, it's just a flat scoop, okay? It's packed, basically like how you did your brown sugar, okay? You can see that right there. So go ahead and, like I said, you're gonna be able to fit about 6 cookies on your sheet. You wanna put them about 2 inches apart, 2 inches from the edge. Okay. And it's up to you, like I said, if you wanna leave it like this, you can leave it here. If you want to add some more nuts and chips on the top, you can do that as well. I'm going to do one tray as is, and I'm going to do another tray with the nuts and the chips on the top, just in case everyone is not doing that. And you can see the difference, and then moving forward, you can decide aesthetically what you like best. And then of course, those of you who do add the chips and the nuts to the top, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be more sweet and more nutty profile for your cookie. And this scoop that I have right here, this is 3 tablespoons actually, so this is a little bit bigger than what you guys are using. And that's because I love a giant cookie. So my cookies might even touch, actually. I should have done 4, because I think my cookies are probably gonna touch when I put them in there. Because I like a giant cookie. So maybe on this one, I'll just do 4 instead of 6, and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so we are on step 8, scooping the dough. Once you get your cookies scooped, you're gonna pop it in the oven and bake for 12 minutes. I'm just putting 4 on here again, like I said, because this scoop is larger than what I asked you guys to use. So I know it's going to be a larger cookie. Okay, and then also for this one, I'm going to add a little more nuts to the top. Just a few. And I'm gonna add a little more chips to the top as well. And we'll see how that comes out. And I'm just pressing them in just a tiny bit so they don't roll in the oven. Okay. All right, so we are ready to bake. We're baking for 12 minutes. All right, so tray number 1 is the cookie dough as is, as we just folded everything inside. And then tray number 2, I added the nuts and the chips to the top, and we'll see which one we like best. So go ahead and pop your cookies in the oven and bake for 12 minutes. Okay, 12 minutes on the timer started, and then the remainder of my batter, I'm gonna pop this back in the fridge, and then that'll solidify a little bit more. Thank you for liking the live, Danielle. So I'm popping my extra back in there. because we're just testing right now to see what we like, okay? And again, another beautiful, beautiful moment on Scratch Baking. Thank you for grabbing your heart me. Another beautiful moment on Scratch Baking is experimenting. It's playing around, right? We've created this recipe, and so we're in control of what's happening with our cookies. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Purple hearts in the chat if you've got your cookies in the oven. And then I will get back on terminology duty. You all can clean. All right, Crystal's got hers in the oven. Boom shakalaka. Great job, Crystal. All right, next up on terminology, whipping. Whip. To beat ingredients like cream or egg whites vigorously to incorporate air and increase volume, resulting in a light, fluffy texture. We did whipping, there goes my voice. We did whipping when we did our whipped cream, right? So incorporating the air will increase the volume. And remember, when we started with our whipped cream, when we started with the heavy cream, we only started with 2 cups. Hi Jay, thanks for joining. Grab your daily heart me and like the live. We only started with 2 cups, right, of our heavy cream. But once we got it whipped and all that air incorporated in there, we tripled, I believe, our recipe to 6 cups of whipped cream. So whipping is a great tool to use. Caramelization. The process of heating sugar to a high temperature to break it down into a golden brown sweet syrup used for flavor and color. Okay, so caramelization, high temperature to give it color. You can caramelize nuts, and when we toasted the nuts, we didn't use any sugar, but let's just say if we were going to caramelize our nuts, we would have used a sugar to toast, and then the sugar would have broken down and like have a nice little crystallized coating onto the nuts. And that again is another thing with flavoring that you can use moving forward. So I think I'll probably do that next class. Bless you in there. Okay, glaze. We'll be glazing as well. Glaze, a shiny coating applied to baked goods, typically made from sugar, milk, or syrup, and sometimes flavored with fruit or chocolate. So you know that infamous glazed donut, or if you have a nice lemon cake with a glaze, which is what we're gonna do next week. What other kind of, I think a pound cake, people, glaze pound cakes or butt cakes. So that's basically just liquefying some sugar. Okay? Purple hearts in the chat if you have your cookies in the oven. Okay, crumbs. So crumb is a texture of the interior of a baked good, such as bread or cake. A fine crumb means the texture is smooth and even. A coarse crumb means it's more open and airy. Okay, so you'll learn that. All right, Mr. Capri's got her cookies in there. Awesome job. So a fine crumb, it's gonna be smooth, okay? And once you bake your cakes next week, you'll be able to cut into it and look at that crumb. If it looks more dense, that's a fine crumb that's gonna be nice and smooth. If you see more like air pockets in there, then you know it's more airy, and that's gonna be a little more coarse, and it could, be dry. So we like to have like a fine crumb, and also a key to that is to not over mix, okay? But as you get comfortable with your mixer, you get comfortable with making your batters from scratch, your intuition, along with your recipe card, is gonna give you that confidence, to not overmix things. All right, awesome, Danielle's. Okay, ganache. So ganache, excuse me, ganache is a rich, smooth mixture of chocolate and cream, often used as a glaze, filling, or frosting. So typically ganache, or at least in my world, we use that for our cakes, on the outside of our cakes for frosting. And gluten. Gluten is a protein in wheat flour that gives dough its structure and elasticity. Overworking dough can lead to too much gluten development, making baked goods tough, okay? So gluten is a protein in wheat flour. And as you all see on your recipe cards, for those of you who may be gluten-free or who may want your bakes to be gluten-free, it's really a simple change. They have some really developed flours on the market that are gluten-free. Back in the day, it would be terrible. And that's kind of why gluten-free goods have the reputation that they have. But fast forward to now, they've got some really good flours on the market that are gluten-free. It's a 1-to-1 swap out. So if your recipe is calling for 1 cup of all-purpose flour, all you've got to do is substitute that with 1 cup of gluten-free powder, and boom, you've got your gluten-free desserts. And then again, you just want to check all the elements like your butter. Most of the time your butter is not going to have gluten in it, but you always want to check the ingredients, because you never know, unless you do this a lot and you just know this by heart. You always want to check the ingredients and make sure that it wasn't added to their product, okay? But most of your butters are not going to have gluten in it, but I always put that note in there just for you to check, okay? Unless you know 100% sure. Same thing with sprinkles. Most of them won't have a gluten, but you always want to check. And they're just little simple tweaks that you can make and have a gluten-free dessert, so it's not as difficult as you think, okay? I tried to roll my cookies by hand and ended up with a lot of dough on my hands anyway to avoid. Okay, so is that because we didn't have the scooper? Didn't have a scooper or a tablespoon? So basically what's happening is, it's sticking on your hands because you needed to have some sort of substance in between, because there's heat coming off of your hand. So the dough is trying to bond to your hand. So moving forward, what you could do, if you have some Crisco, you can coat your hands lightly, not heavily, but lightly coat your hands with some Crisco, and then that way when you're rolling your dough, that doesn't happen. Or you can also use flour again and just lightly coat your hands in the flour and do your rolling that way. But these, this recipe in particular is not bonded to roll, okay? It's just bonded to scoop. So I'm not actually teaching you guys like a ball right now. I'm just teaching you like a scooper. So that's why you wanted to use your metal scooper or your metal tablespoon. But when you are doing a recipe that calls for rolling, you put a little bit of Crisco on your hand and put a little bit of flour on your hand. So if you have some dough available, Samaria, try that and let me know how that works out for you. Okay, and so last up is a convection oven, and this is just an easy one. It's an oven with a fan that circulates hot air, which can cook food more evenly and often faster than a regular oven. Okay, so yes, you can bake in a convection oven. Okay, how are we doing? I've got 2 minutes on my cookies. Let me see if there was something else. Something else that I wanted to share. Okay, so moving forward, you guys could see on your material list, I put on there a line item number 30. It says holiday cookie pack from my Etsy shop. I'm actually gonna change that up. I was gonna do some sugar cookies with you guys and teach you how to do a royal icing. However, trying to just like price everything out, it's definitely to your advantage for me to just like send you guys a little bit of like meringue powder, because when you have to buy it in the store, you can't really buy a small amount. So I'm, you know, just still trying to work that out. I mean, we have a few weeks, but I think I might remove that cookie and switch it out with something else. So hold that thought on that if you were looking at the material list and had that question. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we've gone all over our terminology, and again, at your leisure, you can look at the syllabus and go over that. Most of these things are pretty straightforward, but you know, just little great notes for you to have, like you learned on mise en place. So this is just terminology to add to your tool belt as you are building your confidence with your bakes in the kitchen. Okay, I think that was it on that. I've got 30 seconds. Doesn't look like we have any questions at this point. All right, we are rocking and rolling. Smells good in here. How does it smell in your kitchen? Smelling like sugar in here. All right, so let me put that to the side. I'm just about ready for my cookies to come out. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for joining. There's the timer. All right, so let's check these cookies. I'm gonna take a look first before I pull them out. Okay, so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, that looks amazing. So we started and smells amazing. Yes, Danielle. So we started at 12 minutes. I can visually tell that my cookies are gonna need a little more time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add the 2 minutes, okay, for them to cook a little bit longer. And remember, you always start with the lower time and work your way up. And so what you're trying to achieve is a cookie that looks soft in the center and has a golden brown edge. And once you bring your cookies out, they're going to still, you know, cook a little bit on your sheet while you've got them on your cooling rack. But the goal is to have that golden brown edge with a soft center. So I'm giving mine a couple of more minutes before I pull them out. So make sure that you check yours as well. Yes, it smells so amazing. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. I forgot to put my rack together. Let me do that really quick. I don't think we had anyone that was allergic to nuts. But of course, if you are, then you're just eating a white chocolate cookie. Oh, and then another note to add, with toasting the nuts, your recipe card for toasting nuts goes across the board with all nuts, okay? So if you want to toast peanuts, if you want to toast almonds, if you want to toast walnuts, if you want to toast, what other kind of nuts are out there? Cashews, same thing, okay? Single light layer on your baking sheet, about 10 minutes in the oven at 350 degrees, and you're good to go. If you do a little more than that, because we did 1 cup, so if you do 2 cups, still start with the 10 minutes, and then again, you can build in 1 minute increments if you want your nuts to be a little more golden. That 2 minutes was quick. Okay, let's check again. Gonna take a peek before I actually open the oven. They look pretty good. I'm gonna open it and see. Okay, I feel like I want a little more time on mine. My oven's on 350, but I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes. So now I'm technically up to 16 minutes. If you're at 12 minutes and you popped yours out, good to go. Put them on your, keep them on the baking sheet and put them to cool. If you're taking out at 14 minutes, again, keep them on the baking sheet. You want to leave them on the sheet for at least 5 minutes so that can set. And then you can transfer them to your wire rack to completely cool. Oh, 70K! We're almost there. So yes, I'm giving my cookies a couple of more minutes, and then I'm gonna grab my plate as well. So I've got my cute plate here. So again, we are focusing on presentation. So I'm excited to see your creativity and what you came up with for plating for your cookies. So if you have a round plate, then you're gonna build your cookies in a circle. If you have a rectangular plate, then you're gonna build your cookies in a straight line, okay? So in a couple minutes, we'll pop our cookies out and be good to go on that. Again, any questions, just put them in the chat. Oh, thank you for the hearts. How cute. So cute. Thank you. Oh, Anna. Thank you for grabbing your daily heart me. Those little hearts are so cute. Okay, these little 2 minutes are flying by. Anna leveled up. Okay, so let's check these cookies again. This is kind of weird. One more set of 2 minutes for me for my cookies. But again, if you're ahead of me, if you've got your cookies out of the oven, purple hearts in the chat so I can know. But I even kind of feel like my oven is not as hot as it should be. So I don't know what's happening right now. Hi, will you possibly be choosing chocolate chip or oat milk cookies? I'm glad you asked. Okay, so as I mentioned, so you have like little notes in your syllabus, and I do apologize, I don't have my paper in front of me right now. So this recipe that I'm giving you tonight is versatile, okay? This is the base that you're gonna use for many of your gourmet cookies, okay? So right now we're doing white chocolate and macadamia nuts. You can take this exact same build and make chocolate chip cookies. You can play around with the nuts, play around with chocolates. You can do sprinkles, and you can do like cookie crumbs, okay? So this exact recipe, you all can make your chocolate chip cookies. So let's just say you're doing a chocolate chip cookie that doesn't have nuts in it. This recipe called for like 1 cup of, I'm sorry, what was it? Was it 1 cup of nuts? No, 3/4 of nuts and 1 of chocolate, okay. So you basically have 1 3/4 of a component that you're adding to this cookie dough. So if you're gonna do just chocolate chips, you're gonna put 1 3/4 chocolate chips into this cookie dough, make it exactly the same way, okay? Fold in the chocolate chips at the end. If you're gonna do a sprinkle cookie, you're gonna do 1 3/4 cups of sprinkles, folding them in at the end. Does that make sense? If you're gonna do a, say if you did all nuts, if you're just gonna do a cookie just full of nuts, 1 3/4 full of nuts. If you're gonna do like a half and half, like half chocolate, half nuts, say if you're gonna do like chocolate chips with macadamia nuts, you're gonna do 1 cup of chocolate chips, 3/4 cups of macadamia nuts. Say if you're gonna do white chocolate and cranberry. That's another one of my favorites. You're gonna do 1 cup of white chocolates, 3/4 cups of cranberry. Does that make sense? So this is a versatile base that you can make many, many flavors of cookies with. So let me check my cookies again. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, and now the oven feels a little more hot for some reason. Okay, so look at that. So now I have a soft in the center cookie with the golden edge. Hi, my spicy laser. Can we see that? Soft in the middle, golden on the edge. Soft in the middle, golden on the edge. Okay, now here's where your preference comes into play. Would you prefer a cookie where you got your folded chips and your folded nuts inside and it looks like this and it's gonna settle, so actually the aesthetic is gonna change a little bit? Or would you prefer the cookie where we added the nuts and the chips to the top? Okay, see how that looks? We're gonna give them a couple of minutes to cool on our rack before we, before we move on. So they still look a little bit puffy, but as they cool, they're gonna settle a bit. 3 of each. What do you mean 3 of each? Okay, makes sense. Thank you. So for oatmeal cookies, fold in 1 3/4 of oatmeal. No, not for oatmeal. This recipe is not for oatmeal. This is only for solid added add-ons, if that makes sense. Like oats are going to melt. Okay, so if you're trying to make an oatmeal cookie, it's a completely different base. If you're trying to do, I'm trying to think what else will like melt. If you're trying to do a peanut butter is gonna melt. You'll need a completely different base. Okay, okay, perfect, got it. So this is only for a solid additive. Okay, with this base. So like a chocolate chip, a nut, sprinkle, cookie crumb. Okay, if you want to make an oatmeal cookie, it's going to be completely different. If you want to make a peanut butter cookie, it's going to be completely different. A snickerdoodle, completely different. Okay, all right, so getting that cooled. Purple hearts in the chat if you've got your cookies out of the oven. Just gonna let that cool just a couple more minutes before we bring it onto our plate. That's a great question, by the way. Does anyone else have any other questions? Purple hearts in the chat if your cookies are out of the oven. Stop signs if your cookies are still in the oven. Jolly, do you have a batch of cookies in the oven? All right, great job, Danielle. Cooling phase. Perfect. So, easy peasy. Homework for tonight is your cookies presented on your aesthetic plate. Okay, so we're not just gonna pile our cookies on the plate, we're gonna arrange them. My first batch out, working on the second. All right, Mr. Capri. I've still got batter in the oven that I will bake after class is over. I definitely prefer adding the nuts and the chocolates to the top of the cookie before it goes in to bake. Okay, are you guys the same? Okay, so we've got this one, we folded in, that's still kind of hot. Burn my hand here. We have this one where we folded in the nuts and the chocolates and we baked them just like this. And then we have this one where we added some more nuts and chocolates to the top before we baked it in. If you are the ladder, if you are the second and you like to add more chips and more nuts on the top, just remember that for your prep when you're doing your mise en place, okay? So you're still gonna have the 1 cup of the chips, and you're still gonna have the 3/4 cups of the nuts, but then you will have extra on the side so that you can add that to the top of your cookies, if that makes sense. So instead of the 1 cup of the chocolate chips, maybe your recipe is gonna call for 2 cups, right? And then 1 of those cups you're using to put in the dough, and then 1 you're using to add to the end. Does that make sense? Same thing for the nuts. Say you're just gonna put 1.5 on your recipe card for your nuts. Okay, so 3/4 of that you're gonna put into the dough that you're folding, and then 3/4 of that you're gonna add to the top of your cookie before it goes into the oven. Okay, does that make sense? Now we're going to arrange our cookies. And again, your homework for tonight is your plate presentation, okay? I have a round plate, so I'm going to arrange my cookies in a circle. If you have a rectangle plate, you're gonna arrange your cookies in a rectangle, okay? So there's one. And since these look a little bit different, I'll just stagger them, okay? And see how I'm building one on top of the other, okay? Not going flat like that, okay? I'm building one on top of the other, okay? But you can play around with that. Okay, you can go that way, but make sure that you're giving it some dimension, okay? Give it some dimension with your presentation. Make it just as important as the bake. Okay, does that make sense? You're a great teacher. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. My spicy laser. Okay, so if you look here, I just did 2 rolls. I've got a square plate, and I just did 2 rolls like this. So see, remember we also build in odd numbers. So that's a 3, that's a 4, and then I'm going to do a 3, which comes out to 10. But you do like to build in odd numbers. Bring that up. I came out with 10 cookies. Okay, so I think that looks pretty cute, pretty presentable. So you see, you're not just throwing them, right? You're not just throwing them on the plate. Okay, you can also build them in a circle. So start there, add on top, and then go this way. And then you can build into the center. I'll leave that one in the center. But you can build it like that. And you see how I'm like fanning it? You can also do that as well. Okay, see the difference on the bake? And then you would build, this is why we do a dozen, you know, 1.5 to 2, and then you can build in here, okay? So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. I can also condense this and, you know, bring it in a little bit closer so I don't have as much of a hole in the center. But then again, I didn't do my whole bake, but you get the gist of it, right? So you would build more cookies to fill in the hole. If you have a rectangular plate, let's just pretend like this is a rectangle. Well, this is a rectangle, but you know what I mean, if it's a plate. So just build it right down the center, okay, and fan it. And if your plate is large enough for you to do 2 rolls, then you're gonna do 2 rolls, okay? But you're gonna build it like that in the fan, okay? Presentation is everything. How do I achieve a soft and chewy cookie? Just like we just did right now. use this recipe for one, and you're guaranteed to have a soft and chewy cookie, okay? When you're watching your bake, again, start on the lower end of the time and work your way up so that you don't burn the cookie. You're looking for a golden edge with a soft center, okay? That will also give you a softer cookie. If you use dark brown sugar instead of light brown sugar, that's also gonna give you a softer and chewier cookie. And if you add that 1 egg yolk instead of just 1 egg, that's gonna help you as well, okay? So you can do it by temperature, you can do it by sugar, you can do it by egg, okay? I hope that helps. All right, so we are done for tonight. Again, your homework for tonight is plate presentation with your cookie. I'm looking for your creativity, okay? Please don't just send me a picture of a cookie on a round plate, okay? Present it to me, all right? And then, of course, I will respond to your homeworks. If you want to jump ahead, well, actually, you can't jump ahead, but you will see in the homework. Class will get uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, and that's where you'll be able to go on and comment about your bake for tonight, okay? You are welcome. We're gonna get our music started. As usual, I'll hang around for a couple minutes if you have questions. Other than that, have a great night.